If you'd like to talk about it, I'd love to. I'm reasonable.
What's your stance? Fetus Lives Matter? How so? Why? Give me the rundown.
Well, first of all, because of my stance, I'm going to make it very clear that I'm not religious at all. I'm an atheist.
Okay.
I don't believe in any religious stance as a parent.
Okay.
I believe that life begins at conception.
Okay.
Therefore, I believe that it's a human life. Therefore, it's requiring of protection. I think that a lot of the issues that people have with the pro-life stance are the thought of, well, what if it's going to kill the mother? What if the pregnancy's gone bad? How do we take care of that? And somebody succinctly put the position as those are not procedures that are abortions. Those are procedures to fix other problems that cause the death of the child.
Okay.
Intentionality is very important when it comes to those sort of things. For example, the chemo. You can kill the child, but it ain't an abortion, right? You get your legs cut off in a car accident, you got to go through some serious surgery to save your life, and it kills the child. It's still not an abortion. An abortion, according to my definition, is performed on a healthy living fetus that left otherwise would develop. I'd love to hear your opinion.
Okay, so my stance on it, I feel like it's somewhat selfish to be like fetus lives matter because they're not a fully fledged human being. When you look at the foster care system, there's so many kids that don't have homes. There's so many and all that is due to abortions not being accessible to people most of the times.
Well,
would you rather?
I don't agree with that, but continue.
What do you mean by you don't agree with that?
Well, abortions for the most part have been around massively accessible.
No, but what I'm saying by that is that if someone who knows they're going to give up their child, who knows it's going to go into a system where there's a lot of molestation rate, which continues the cycle of, they know they're going to put them into foster care or an adoption agency where they're not going to necessarily have a great upbringing. That doesn't mean that they're not going to live a fulfilled life in the future. I know lots of people in the foster care system that have had really good lives and really Yeah, I've had so many instances. So many of my friends who have been in foster care have said that they are so mentally depressed, have so many issues, and that they would have rather not had that upbringing. It's a very, very tough thing to go through. Where did you come from? Did you come from
No, I didn't. But I can also sympathize with that position, but I don't think that it's strong enough in order to justify the
And also, not to mention just overpopulation in general, if we keep allowing, not saying people shouldn't have babies or whatever, but there's so much over-consumerism, so much...
But that's a strong argument for things like contraception, which I'm not
Yeah, but honestly, a lot of the environmental problems that we have is due to overpopulation and overconsumption.
I completely agree with that. And
Yeah.
that's where I'm not arguing against those lines of reasoning. But I'm saying it's the threshold to justify the killing of an innocent human being.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily a killing. It's not a fully human being. It doesn't have emotions. It doesn't have feelings. Well, that's a completely different argument. Somebody in a coma... No, someone in a coma has lived a fully fledged life already. They have relationships and feelings and thoughts.
But why does that matter?
What do you mean, why does that matter? That's why they're in a coma and not have their plug pulled, because they have a job, they have a relationship.
No, that's not why. It's because they're human beings. They have a right to life.
Okay, but even if I have friends where their parents had a baby and they had the option to pull the plug on the baby because it was going to live in a wheelchair, not anything, not any of that, no quality of life. I think a part of the human experience is being able to have a quality life, and I think we're denied of it because of the state of the world in a lot of the times. Not to say that people should wallow in their depressive episodes or anything, but...
So I sympathize very much so with the position of, well, what if my baby is fucking... It's going to have an IQ of 1. We know through genetic testing some mental issue, right?
Yep.
But at the end of the day, that's not a guarantee. And
it's not a guarantee. Sorry, go ahead.
I also think that at the end of the day, I don't think it's up to you to make that decision in the sense of kill an innocent human.
I just personally don't think it's an innocent human if it's not a fully fledged. It's a clump of cells.
By definition,
No, it's not. By definition, it's a fetus. A fetus is a different thing than a human being. Do you think an egg is a chicken? Infant in a stomach is not verbalized, especially if it's 2 weeks formed.
So hold on. So the egg and the sperm, sorry to go into specifics, have half the DNA, And when they meet in the egg and they actually conceive it, it becomes a fully fledged human being.
I know
DNA.
how
No, I know.
it is.
I know. I'm just making the point that the egg and the sperm are not the argument. The argument is that the egg is a unique human being. It really is. It has unique DNA.
I just don't think that.
Well, what is it? A dolphin?
No,
Like, it
it's a
doesn't
clump
change
of
species,
cells.
but it's still a human being.
I don't think it's a human being. I think a human being is someone like you and me, someone who has individual
So you
experiences.
believe that you could kill that fetus all the way up to 9 months?
Yeah, no. Well, maybe not. I don't know.
So now you agree that your position isn't as concrete as you believe.
No, that's for safety reasons.
Because if it was based on their perception and their experience and their lived perception,
Well,
you
I
build
also
them up
think-
to the point that they come out of the womb.
I also
That's your
no.
position.
Hold on. I also think that if someone's going to carry something for 9 months, I don't think that like that's a long time to debate that. If someone's going to should be for immediate reasons, like if it's right. Because it's different. It's formed as it's fully it's. I don't even know what a 9-month thing looks like, to be honest. But I do believe in the first few weeks, months. I don't know specifically timelines. That's not like. I don't even think that
So you're making a viable idea, which is where you're going, well, at a certain point it becomes viable and you already should have made the
No,
choice.
I never said it was viable.
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't.
That's what I'm
You're
saying.
putting words. Simmer down.
You're
Simmer
right.
down.
No. I was trying to sum up your argument and the point that you were trying to make. Yes, I was putting words in your mouth, and I was trying to paraphrase your argument to a point to see if you agree. Which is that really the point that you're arguing is really that, well, no, once it reaches a certain point in the development that it's viable, it reaches a point where it's no longer acceptable.
Well, personally, I wouldn't care either way, but I do think that there's a certain responsibility after, an extensive period. I do
So where do
believe.
you draw the line? See, that's
There's no line. Like, I don't care.
And that's the
As
problem.
long-
And that's the problem, though, is that your stance is allowing for abortions all the way up to 9 months because you don't draw the
That's
line.
not what I'm saying. I want accessible abortions for people who have been through trauma, through rape, who grow up in households who can't even take care of themselves.
Why is
Somebody.
it okay to kill the
I don't think it's killing an innocent child. An innocent child is people in foster care system that don't have parents, that don't have stability. If you care so much about a child, go and adopt a kid. You go adopt a kid and raise it. Go grab a baby from the foster care system. Why do you care about? Why is it murder? You're taking this to a stretch.
No, I don't believe it is. So under the definition of murder, it includes lawfulness and it's lawful for no, it's not murder. But by the very definition of manslaughter, I believe it's an innocent human being and they're actually taking him out of the No, absolutely.
Okay, well, I think that you're pretty set in stone in your opinion. I don't think that you're going to absorb and listen to what I'm saying too much. And I think we're both on that spectrum.
I think that I've done well to listen to your arguments. I've done well to respect them. Whether or not you think it's fair, I haven't changed my opinion, but I have respected your views and I've listened to you.
I appreciate that.
So don't take me wrong with your thoughts and your opinions.
I appreciate that.
Face often, and I engage in these discussions often. And what I'd like you to think about is that if the argument that you're holding is that there needs to be a line drawn somewhere, and the argument is where do you draw that line, I'm giving you something to think about. So don't just say, no, you're not thinking. Because if your position is that it's based on thought processes, you run into some issues when you're dealing with people with amnesia and comas, and whether or not we can
I don't think that's
them.
a very valid comparison.
You may not. 100%. But in my books is when you start buying the law line, you're admitting that you have to protect that innocent life at a certain point. Because either it's up to 9 months, which means they develop sentience and they develop a
I don't think it's an
personality and
innocent
context.
life.
Well, by definition, it's innocent. For lack of a better
But I
word,
don't really view it as a life.
well, it's certainly a lot.
I don't think it's alive. I don't think necessarily it has like
It's an individual cell.
maybe. I don't know.
So then what's the definition of life?
I don't know. Like,
So
why are you hitting me with definitions?
So because that's a very important part of the Socratic method, which is that if you're going to say something like, well, I don't think it's alive, well, I do, well, what are we really debating here? What is alive? Right?
Okay.
I define alive as it reproduces, it lives in the sense of it functions, the cells that are in there are functioning, it is reproducing, it absorbs nutrients, it takes information from the surrounding area, fetus is things, and I think you'll understand why I kept going.
Okay.
What you're saying isn't that it isn't a human being. What you're saying is that the human being in that certain stage of its development doesn't deserve protection.
I don't think that's not the issue. I don't care if it's protected or not. I care if people have accessibility to get that done if
Well,
they need
so
to.
that's what I'm saying though. Is that when you're saying that the abortion shouldn't happen, you're asking for the fetus.
Well, do you believe that abortion should be not legal?
No, I don't think it should be.
You don't think it should be
It
legal?
should be outlawed.
So that's just baffling to me.
Well, I think that it's protecting the innocent child. I don't think that even in cases
But
of rape or
we're not
incest.
protecting innocent children that are already alive.
Well, that's a different argument. I can support.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's we can certainly talk about encouraging ways to help them in charity, help them live in the foster system, voting the right people in office. There would certainly be common ground here. But that's also not an argument for why we need to continue to kill innocent people.
Well, it is. As I said before, like overpopulation with like so much.
We can argue for contraception. We can encourage people to have
Yeah,
smaller families.
and that's what I'm saying.
I'm cool with that.
I'm not saying that
but
everybody.
that doesn't justify abortion.
And also, let me just say this: like, no woman wants to have an abortion. Like,
I had a woman drive past to scream at me that she's had 5 abortions. She's proud of it.
And
She's proud of it.
it's a painful procedure. Like, no one wants to go through that. That's an excruciating thing and can be somewhat traumatic. The whole procedure.
Sure.
Like, nobody wants to put themselves in that position.
But
People
they
use
do.
protection. No, they don't. Nobody wants to be put in the position of getting an abortion.
That wasn't my point.
That's what you just said. But they do.
You misunderstood. I meant that they have abortions. Nobody wants to go and get an abortion.
Yeah, it just
But
says like
people do when push
everybody
comes to
has
shove,
tough situations that they don't want to do that they have to do with a lot of medical procedures, with a lot of different things.
Correct. And that's why we should outlaw it. Because people will feel pressured in order to get them. We should protect them.
So, do you also believe that like you just said it, so I guess like
I'm an open book.
you don't.
Standing
If
on the street corner
if
with
it's
the
like
sign.
a child who got raped, do you think they should have to carry in that and
Yes,
like
and allow me to explain this. I think that the government, the state, and the people are obligated in order to help that woman deal with the cost of that baby and the sense of raising it after the birth, because it is an awful situation. She's a victim of a crime. It's not where she's put herself into a willful position in order to have a child and she's regretting it. She literally got fucking raped. I think we should open up a bank book for that woman to help her raise that child because it's awful. Or
yeah, but
give it up
that's
for
not
adoption.
happening.
Or
that's not happening.
sure, but we can
If
agree that.
no,
but
if
we can
stuff
agree
was
that
in
it would
place,
happen.
if it was more safe to have children, if there was, financial support for mothers more, and that it might be like a different argument. People could raise, but that's not the world that we're living in. We're living in the world where foster system is like overrun, where people are in abusive households. I grew up in an abusive household.
I don't
like,
think that that's a good thing in society.
No.
There's some good problems in society, but I also don't think that those awful situations, as awful as they are, justifies abortion.
Okay. Well. Okay. Okay.
I enjoyed that conversation. You've been very polite and respectful.
Wait, one more
Please.
thing.
Please, I'm an open book. That's why.
So legally, if someone's dying beside you, you don't have to, and they need like a certain type of blood or something and they're bleeding out, you don't have to donate that blood to them because it's your body, it's your, jurisdiction. You don't have to legally do that. So why should you have to legally give all your nutrients, all your energy, all your blood to a fetus that isn't even a fully formed human?
Because we're not forcing you into that situation.
But in rape, in so many instances, why should somebody be? There's so many instances where people are forced into
I'd like to respond to that.
being pregnant.
I'd like to respond. Okay. The only one that
Okay, I actually am on a time schedule.
Okay,
that was
give
the
me one-
last thing I had to
Give me
say.
one sentence then as you walk away.
I had my last.
I understand. The difference is that the person has made a willful choice to have that child within them, and we're preventing you from murdering them.
Anything better to do? Like,
No.
you have a job or something?
I do, yes. I have a full-time job.
Go volunteer at a foster care system if you care about
I think that holding this and enforcing